hit my enter key. If you notice on the top left, FewClix has isolated 241 email messages that are from Maya. Then I'm going to go to my attachment name column here and type in the file extension, XLS. That's it. In less than 5 seconds, I've got to the 3 email messages that I need to look through instead of scroll through hundreds. Right? It's as easy as that. Now, for a minute, let's assume that I didn't get it. I didn't find it. I mean, I looked through these 3 and these are not it. Now, there is a possibility that the email message was sent by somebody else with Maya and me in copy. Right? Now, that is many times why we aren't able to find email messages, because we assume that it's from somebody, but it could be from somebody else. So, see what I can do here. I simply drop down this little arrow next to sender and select who instead of sender, which is give me all emails, whether Maya is the sender or Maya is the recipient. And there you go. There's one more email right there that's from Josh, and that's possibly the spreadsheet I'm looking for. Right? Can you imagine how long this would have taken without FewClix? Now, let me give you another example. Now, let's say that in the marketing team, we use a few software products, and I'm looking for the invoice of one of the contracts that we renewed recently, right? So I'm going to go to my email content column here and say support. Okay, so because we renewed a support contract, that email is likely to have the word support in it, and then go to my attachment content here and say in the attachment, I'm sure we have the word invoice, and there you go. I found it. Now let me give you another example. Many times we receive emails, but we aren't very sure who it came from, right? If this is quite possible, if you are interacting with a bunch of people in an organization and you aren't very sure which one of them sent it to you, or you're not very familiar with that organization or vendor or customer, whatever you have, and you don't really remember. So let me, in this case, assume that I'm looking for an email from the Deutsche Note User Group, DNUG, right? So what I can do here in my sender column is simply type in the domain, right? So in this case, that's dnug.de, and hit my enter key again. And there you go. I found that one email I'm looking for. Now, we were talking about prioritization as the second big pain area. So I'm just going to open my prioritize options right here, and let me explain. So let's say, for example, that I've been traveling, right, either attending an event or meeting customers or whatever for the last week, and I've had limited email access, mostly via my mobile device. And I've responded to as many messages as I could, but I'm sure I've missed a few, right? So I'm back at my desk and I want to get to those. Now again, imagine what that would be like if I didn't have FewClix right here, right? Just to illustrate, I'm going to have to keep scrolling down, opening up all these unread messages, opening up those messages that, excuse me a minute. Opening up those messages against which I do not have, one of these forward or reply icons, or do that from memory, right? That's the only way I can do it. Let me show you how I do that in FewClix, right? All I do is come to prioritize and say, show me all emails first that I received in the last 1 week, so 7 days. There you go, on the top left, 111 messages, right? And those that were addressed only to me. Now, why only to me? Because it is quite likely that those email messages that were addressed to me and others, somebody might have responded to it, and there would be a mail trail associated with that. So I'd rather get to the messages that are pending on me, right? So I'm going to click on only to me, right, down to 8, and then I'm going to click on this little button that says email that I have not replied to or forwarded. And I'm down to the 4 messages that I need to look at. and the top 2 are calendar invites. I can ignore those, and there you go. Right. Now, I take 5 minutes. I'm done with that. All I need to do is to now go from only 2 to email messages that would address to me and others, and do the same thing. So in this case, I have a bunch, 52. I can't tackle all of them. Let me just begin with those that are marked important. There you go. Right? Let me assume for a minute that somebody told me that they've sent me a doc and I've somehow missed it, a document attachment. And I know that it's come in the last 30 days. Like what I do here is go and say, show me all emails in the last 30 days. That's 351, and with a document attachment, right? Then I can then fine tune that further by saying those that are unread or those that are marked important. Now for my final use case, I'm going to pick something a little bit complicated, right? And again, this is not complex because we don't do it, but it's because I just wanted to illustrate to you the different kind of options that you have with FewClix. So all of us do meetings, right? Weekly, fortnightly, monthly, and those of us who manage teams basically need to review stuff before we get to those meetings, and most often we receive all of that stuff via our email. Right, so let me assume that I have my weekly meeting coming up with one part of my team, maybe later this evening. I need to review what they've been sending me, say over the last week to 2 weeks, right? So what I need to do is basically either start looking in my inbox, right? Isolate, again sort, and then let's say James is part of that, look through all of James's emails, and then go to the next guy and the next guy and so on, right? Now in FewClix, this is kind of really simple because all I do is just to make sure that I don't miss anything that's possibly sitting in my folders here, go to my all documents. So this is all the 12,000 emails that I have. Go to sender, type in the names of all those that I'm going to be meeting with. So in this case, let's say it's James, Josh, and Tom, right? That's 1,710 email messages, right? And I'm interested only in email messages, say in the last 7 days, or let's say 30 days, just to make sure, right? And I'm only looking for email messages with attachments. So I pick my attachment content that has 13 email messages, and let me start with the documents. Once I'm done with the documents, possibly the spreadsheets. Once I'm done with the spreadsheets, possibly the presentation files. As simple as that. Now the third pain area we spoke about is organization, right? And one of the organization tasks that we do all the time is move messages from your inbox or sent items to your folders. In this case, I'm going to pick Josh, right? Now I want to move all email messages that I've received from Josh that are possibly older than 90 days, 2-3 months into his folder, right? Do some cleaning up work. So I come back here, I say Josh, right? Then go to my date column, drop that down. Now this gives me options to either pick my emails by the calendar functionality here or by date. Okay, so I'm going to pick, looks like I have some really old messages. Suppose I'm going to pick the old years and then go to 2011 and pick maybe Feb, March, and April, right? Let me add May, right? And say OK, right? There you go. Sorry, I'm in my all documents, so I should have moved to my inbox. Let me do that in my inbox. Josh, date, 2011, let's say Feb, March, April, and May. There you go. That's 53 emails. I simply do a Control A to select all of these messages and go here, move to Josh, or simply drag and drop these in the Josh Barton folder. Right? So here is a logical way of moving emails to folders rather than scrolling down your emails, selecting those that you want to move, and then doing that. Now the other key organization task is archiving email, and this most often becomes a problem just when I'm about to send out, an email with a big attachment, and oops, I realize that I've hit my mail quota, and I can't send out that 2 MB attachment or that 1 megabyte attachment, right? So what I can do in FewClix is go to the size drop down, right? Pick the 100 kilobyte to 1 megabyte range, and that's 16 emails, right? And of course, I don't want to throw all of them in my archive, so go back to my date drop down, pick documents that are at least a couple to 3 months old, right? Say OK, right? Again, select them all, go to Actions, Archive, and archive selected documents. That's it. Okay. Now, if you're wondering, how, this is good, but how complicated is this going to be? Do I have to work with my IT team to get this deployed for me? Is it going to be a big deal? We have some very good news, right? It's very, very easy to deploy. It takes about 2 minutes, and you don't need your IT team to support you as long as you have the correct release of Lotus Notes. Right? You just go to our website. You can download it from there. Once you've done that, the Notes 852 client has something called a widgets pane. So all you do is drag and drop the FewClix Unity widget right here. It takes a couple of minutes. It installs. You restart your Notes client and close and open your mailbox, and you'll see FewClix Unity sitting right here. That takes 2 to 5 minutes at the most. Very, very simple. Now, you might also be wondering, gosh, I mean, is this going to occupy a lot of space? And, what's it going to do to my Notes client? Right? The answers, again, are FewClix Unity does not touch your Notes client. It does not change your mail template. It does not alter your Lotus Notes installation in any way. And FewClix has its own indexing mechanism, and it creates its own index and stores it in a different location so that doesn't interfere with what you're doing with your Notes client either. And the interesting thing here, right, apart from, of course, the primary advantage of significant time savings is that FewClix also delivers significant storage savings. Now, you see here, I'm just going to open up my native search capability in Notes, right? And let me close FewClix Unity for a second, right? So let's assume I didn't have FewClix Unity. This is what I have in Notes, right? And you notice that you have your mail file index. Some of you may have it, some of you may not have it indexed, right? The reason is the full text index in Notes, right, is very heavy on storage. It can occupy anywhere between 60 to 80% of the size of your mail file, right? Which is why a lot of enterprises do not turn it on. So the huge savings is also in storage space. The FewClix index is a lot smaller, and for all of the capability that you've just seen, the FewClix index occupies or delivers space savings of between 50 to 80% of what you would have with your traditional Lotus Notes full text index. Let me quickly summarize. I'm going to move back to my slides. So, search that is easy, very, very fast, and quite addictive. Most of the users who use FewClix have been testament to this. And basically, our promise to users of FewClix is that you can find any email in seconds.